76193, the Guardian Ship, was a transformative set for my LEGO hobby. It wasn't necessarily the first set that I built that was aimed at experienced builders, but in a way that was distinct from anything that I'd built before. I absolutely adored the way that the shaping came together, the elegant color blocking, and the phenomenal attention to detail. 76286, the Milano Spaceship, promises to be a spiritual successor to this absolute legend. The only question is whether or not it can live up to my hype. As normal, we're going to go ahead and start with the building experience, and frankly, what do I even say here? I don't want to answer the question that I posed in its entirety right off the bat, but yeah, this is a worthy successor in almost every way. With the exception of a single subassembly towards the end of the build that attaches to the model in a tight and hard to see space, this building experience is honestly divine. Every surface on this model is attached at a subtle angle using just about every trick in the book, from Pythagorean triples to ball joints to snot assemblies to clip and hinge based geometry. For such a complex assembly, everything fits together so perfectly that it's borderline a testament to the existence of a higher power. The set even managed to do something that I find to be particularly uncommon, where I felt convinced as I was following the instructions that we were building a certain part of the ship, only to be told to flip the model over and realize that I had been building something else entirely. That moment of realization is one of the absolute most rewarding parts of LEGO for me, and this set delivers in spades. This victory is especially sweet, however, because I honestly was expecting this model to be pretty bad. Based on box art and promotional images, it seemed like most of the wing was a single flat slab. However, the actual case is that each wing consists of more than a half dozen individual panels, each connected together at angles so subtle that you can barely even notice they're there until you have it in your hands and up close. The Guardian Ship may have pioneered this sort of experience with the absolutely excellent shaping of the hunched shoulder effect on the wings, but this set is a rapid-fire masterclass in several variations on the same technique. I've given sets maximum score for building experience on this channel before, but this set raises my bar. There was an experience beyond what I would have considered perfection before, and everything else has to measure up to this now. This is easily, without a doubt in my mind, a 10 out of 10 building experience. Unfortunately, this set doesn't really live up to its predecessor in terms of minifigures. Baby Groot is fun as always, and it is a treat to see the custom molded Baby Groot piece return, especially since I think that he does look better in the dark tan color that he's been printed in recently than the reddish brown that he was originally built in. On the other hand, Rocket Raccoon is a reprint of the minifigure that appeared in 76278, Rocket Raccoon's Warbird vs. Ronin, earlier this year. It's really difficult to sing the praises of a reprinted minifigure, especially considering that in this case you almost definitely got this set earlier if you were going to go for the Milano now, especially since Ronin hasn't appeared since the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie circa 2014. But on top of that, it's really kind of hard to praise any Rocket Raccoon minifigure that has come out, since there was a polybag Rocket Raccoon minifigure that featured dual molded legs and arm printing in 2014. I would argue that every Rocket Raccoon minifigure since has been failing to live up to this precedent. Drax is hands down my favorite minifigure in this set. I think that he looks excellent with highly detailed chest printing as always, and personally I think that the gleeful expression he has is a massively characterful presentation of the character that is very distinct from previous incarnations. It's also worth noting that I massively prefer this light bluish gray skin tone for him over the sickening green that we had for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Gamora is acceptable considering that it's a character that hasn't appeared since 2018, ignoring her alternate universe Thanos look from What If. However, I do feel a little bit annoyed, considering that I have the 2014 version of the character to compare to, that this one is lacking in detail in a meaningful way. Finally, even considering that Rocket is a dupe, I think that this Star-Lord is the weakest minifigure of the set for me. Unlike Groot, his older custom molded helmet piece does not make a return, which I find a little bit frustrating considering that it literally makes its first appearance in the same scene that the Milano makes its first appearance. And honestly, while the minifigure is distinct from previous Star-Lords, it doesn't really improve on them in any way, which is unfortunate considering the price point of this set and the fact that, realistically, it's kind of built around him. It bears mentioning that Gamora, Drax, and Star-Lord all do feature leg printing, however, it is the same leg printing on all 3 minifigures. This isn't a problem per se, but it is a little bit frustrating in comparison to their 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy 1 minifigures, who all have distinct leg printing designs. And Drax does get a little bit spoiled here, adding to the fact that he is on top of the pile because he has detailed arm printing. It's hard to call these minifigures properly bad, however, considering that they are a step down from previous incarnations of the Guardians of the Galaxy in detail in almost every single case, I really hesitate to give them a positive score either. For a set this size and price that features an entire superhero team, I really would have expected, or maybe hoped, for something better. This is a 3 out of 10. As far as play goes, it is definitely difficult to get play out of a set this size, but in this case a valiant effort was made anyways. Much like the Benatar, this set does feature a full interior. Brick-built detail is lacking here by comparison and is supplemented by more stickers, including one that kind of rubs in our face that they thought about Yondu and didn't bother to include him anyways. However, I will acknowledge that the looser brick-built detail does free up more of this interior space for use for play, and I think that that is potentially a worthwhile trade-off. It's also worth noting that this interior is easier to access than the interior of the Benatar, which contributes to the feeling of largeness that this interior has. The roof not only connects using a beautiful Technic Snot technique and lines up perfectly, it's also easy access. Who says you can't have it all? The larger interior means that the options for scene play here are substantial. There's space for Quill to enjoy his tape deck in bed, for Rocket to attend to Baby Groot, and for a whopping 3 minifigures to share the space in the cockpit. I also do really appreciate that this set has dedicated spaces for you to put all of the Guardians' weapons, including a sword rack for Gamora on the wall that is built brilliantly by embedding a grill into the construction of the vehicle's exterior. It's definitely not swooshable, and this is obviously supposed to be a display piece, but a meaningful effort was made here. I think that this is a middle-of-the-road 5 out of 10. Reaching our display value finale, this is clearly where this set is most intended to shine. The effort that goes into creating all of these subtle angles and shaping along the wings definitely pays dividends when you have the option to look at the model in 3D space. The subtle shaping and all but non-existent gapping mean that your eyes glide right across the model until you reach a cool piece of brick-built detail for them to settle on. This set also joins the very few that when someone asks about, I actually pull it apart to show them how it goes together, which isn't exactly display value, but is in the same arena and is pretty cool. I will acknowledge that this ship is not my favorite design in the Marvel Universe, and I do think that the set is working uphill against the ship's very stubby length. The ship very much so has flying wing proportions that make it look less like a plane and more like a football with wings, but obviously that's Marvel's fault, not Lego's, and as far as the execution on the shape that Marvel did design, Lego delivers flawlessly. Realistically speaking, I only have one meaningful issue. The Guardian ship features an absolutely genius display stand. It attaches to the ship very near to its center of gravity using a turntable with just enough friction that you can position the ship at any rotation and it will maintain its positioning. It is a very subtle touch, but the added dynamicism definitely sells the detail of the set, and the added sense of motion makes the display stand fade into the background. Instead of going for the kind of stand that really sells the focus on the model, the Milano buys into the same design that has been used for most Marvel ships in the last roughly 1.5 or 2 years. A beam, 4 plates and a tile thick, inserted into a 2x2 receptacle on the underside of the ship. This is plenty sturdy to actually support the ship, and it is easier to remove, which might be a blessing or a curse depending on what you're expecting to happen when you grab the ship off of the shelf. However, I don't pick these up very often, and given the choice, looking at them side by side, I would take the added dynamicism that the Benatar has over the Milano's easy access literally every single time. I wish they had included something like this here so badly that I unironically might end up just creating my own rotating display base for this set. We will see. On this level, at least, the Benatar remains the undisputed queen for now. Other than that tiny nitpick though, this set is beautiful and I would not complain having this on my shelf in any sense. This is a 9 out of 10 display value. I absolutely love this set, and I will definitely recommend it to anybody who asks me about it. It's not perfect, and it's definitely an advanced model, but it's beautiful, and it is definitely a commanding presence on the shelf with all its wing flaps spread. This set earns an overall score of 6.5 out of 10, and I think that it's time for some well-earned glamour shots. That about wraps things up, and we just gotta knock out the general YouTuber stuff. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you've got your hands on this set, I would love to hear what your thoughts are about it, because obviously I haven't managed to come up with very much to even think about in the negative. And if you haven't gotten your hands on this set and you have budget for LEGO, definitely give this one consideration. It is worth every penny. As always, I want to extend a thank you to my Patreons, or patrons, as my partner insists that it's called, even though there's an E in there. Leave your thoughts on how that should be pronounced in the comments as well. If you would like to get your name on this list or get building instructions for models that I create on the channel, potentially including that rotating base for this set, go ahead and head on over there. The link will be in the description below. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.